so good that you're here. Really great. And great music. Obviously, we're going to have probably the best sermon you've ever heard. Is this on? Oh, we're really glad that you're here. And this is a high holy day for the Christian Church. And I'm wondering if this is anyone's favorite holy day. Christmas? Easter? Good Friday? My birthday? I'm glad you're here. This is the cause. This is the cause for the Christian Church to be in existence. Is the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and without it, we wouldn't be here, and without the witnesses, we also would not be here. So it's a fantastic day, and that day of opportunity, I think, for us as well to start a new direction in our lives based on not only our own hopes, but also the hope of God that God has for us. And so it really can be a very dynamic day for all of us. So with that in mind, the children are going to come up and play bells. Is that? And then we have a little children's lounge. Okay. Do you have enough personnel?
Would you like to join us?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Can I get blue?
Let's go back to the steps. We'll bring the lights to you.
Go blue.
Right down. Right down. Right down. Okay. Please stop.
Do you know how to do? She did like papers right. Why don't we
Why is that long? Just a minute.
Does blue ever play?
Oh, he's got this one. Okay. Waiting for
My staging that you're
I'll put it up. You guys can go for the
now?
Okay, quiet down. Quiet down. Hold the bells close to you. Keep them close. Quiet down. Quiet down.
How do you do it?
Everybody has their bells pointing up.
Oh, yeah, this is
Brooklyn
easy.
needs a little help there.
Brooklyn?
Turn it. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Risa, I don't think you're gonna be able to see.
Oh, Reese, come down here. Reese, come down here.
Make sure you can see.
Can
You
you
gotta be
see?
able to see.
Can you see?
Ready? Watch.
Watch.
Dark blue, green, red with black. Dark green, dark blue.
Terrific. Let's give him another hand. Now, why don't you come down here just for a minute? And remember our plant? Do you remember the plant that I struggled with? I struggled with keeping it alive outside of my house this winter. But see what's happened? Do you see what's happened? Look. You notice anything? It's got a little green there. Yes. It has a little green in it now. It's Easter. Now, why do you think that happened?
Because it's Easter.
Because it's Easter?
Because we poured water on
Because we poured water on
it.
it. Yes, we did. And sunlight. Yeah, we gave it some sunlight. What else? Yes?
Mother Nature.
Mother Nature.
And rain.
And rain. How else? You see, there's a little light here now.
And flowers.
And flowers. Do you smell them? It smells good. Put your hand in there. It smells really good. Any other reason we might have new life here in this pretty dead planet? Serafina, what do you got for us? More photosynthesis. Yes, right. And thanks for not being cynical. I would appreciate it. Anybody else? Love. Right. We loved it back. We loved it back into life. Yeah, we did. Isn't that great? And it smells good too. Okay, we're gonna sing your hymn, and thanks a lot for your work on your bells. That'll be exceedingly well.
Let's join in the call to worship, please. The stone which the builders rejected has become the head of the corner.
This is the Lord's doing. To us it is marvelous.
This is the day which the Lord has made,
Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
and our assurance of pardon and restoration. I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope.
Then we will call upon you and come and pray.
And God will hear us.
Then we will seek and at last find God.
When we
Seek Him with all our hearts.
Now let us join in the passing of peace of Christ to each other.
Before we sing our anthem, which is simply titled Easter Anthem by William Billings, I was asked to say a few words about William Billings. He was an interesting composer, American composer, kind of right around during the Revolutionary War period. So his music was very rousing. Sometimes it sounds like it would be more fitting to be in a saloon. But still very famous for his hymns, and was very, one of the first American composers that we celebrate.
How's that?
Hallelujah.
Let us join in the prayer of confession. We mutter, "What is the point of all this?" We grieve loved ones and wonder, "Is this all there is?" We shuffle through our lavenders and whisper, "Where is the meaning in here?" You have come to enter this lake of ours, to be with us, and to lead us into a new way of living, where a song of praise and gratitude can be heard just over the hill. And the summary of the law. If we have been raised with Christ, then let us seek his will and way. Let us set our minds on our new tribe, the tribe of heaven. Let us do the works of heaven, following the Lord of heaven and earth, the one who defeated death.
know, but Dan is doing recruiting right now for the choir, so keep singing. We pray for the impossible, don't we? So often. Don't we pray for the impossible? I do. I pray for the impossible all the time. All the time. Lord, give me the impossible. Well, it gets a lot more serious than that, doesn't it? We pray for the impossible. When our own resources are exhausted, and believe me, most of us have plenty of resources, internal, external, in our pockets. We got lots of resources, and we draw from those resources. We are right to draw from our God-given resources. But there's a day, and maybe for some of us more than one, where our resources have run dry. And then we move into the area of impossibility. And how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? Impossibility. Not going to happen. This is all there is. This is all there will be. And that's the end of the situation. Have you ever been there before? I'm actually there right now. In our faith, the Christian faith is not intimidated by impossibility. Things may not work out exactly as we envision. The reason that happens is we are not God. But God knows us, knows our situation, loves us, intends to redeem us, put it all back together again, no matter how frayed your life is, no matter how broken it is, whether you think that bruise in your heart is ever going to recover or not. God says, I'll take care of it. You trust me. Trust me. And in the meantime, you pray, right? You pray. Anybody pray their guts out? Anybody ever do that? I've been doing that lately. It's a good thing. It's a good thing when we run out of our own resources. It's a good thing when we hit bottom. It's a good thing when all we say is impossible. That's a good thing because that's the beginning of something better in our lives. When we turn to God, it's a good thing. So let's do it. Let's do it together. Gracious God, we thank you for this day, for without it, we are most to be pitied. If there is no resurrection, if there is no Christ outside the tomb, then we are sad characters. Then we are as bad as French philosophers. Just be brave. Just be brave, they say, even in the midst of enormity. Just be brave, even though everything is impossible. Just be brave. Cheer up. Put on a happy face. No thank you. I want the real thing, and I think we do too. We want a victorious Christ and a God who cares for us. One that will not stay dead. A God that will refuse to vote for anything but life and love and grace and mercy. And we've got it in you. And we are so overwhelmed. We're so grateful. We can hardly believe it. On most days we don't. It's just too big. It's too much. And yet you tell us with just a little faith, the size of a mustard seed, just a little bit, we could enter this whole new world of possibilities. And our lives can count. We're offered great meaning in our lives, great possibilities, new relationships, new things to ponder and consider, and new work to be done. We bless you this day, O God. And we remember this day to our loved ones and our family, those that are in trouble, those who are sick, experience chronic illness of one kind or another, those who are in pain of heart or body, soul. We pray for those that we know are in addiction of one type or another. We those of us who have been given hope far too early might regain somehow in some tangible way. Where it's either life or death for God. It's life or death. It's many forms. And we choose life. We do so because you did. Through Christ our Lord, who taught us to praise Him, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, and we forgive our debtors. And lead us not, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. Well, there are four different gospels in the Bible, four different ways of seeing Jesus' life and ministry, his death and resurrection, and they're different from each other. Just like if you're married or have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or if you have children especially, you can say, yes, the sky is blue. And they'll say, no, really, it's kind of French blue. Or what my dad would say is, no, it's got a little yellow in it. Thanks, Dad, that's terrific. If you know what I mean. Yeah, and I think the Bible's good with that. The Bible is good with your opinion. Isn't that interesting? It wants your opinion. A lot of preachers and Christians think the Bible is going to tell you what to do. There are certainly sections in the Bible that are directive. Let's say the Ten Commandments come to mind. But in the main, the Bible really wants to know what you think. It's as if the Bible is reading to itself, and from time to time it looks over its own shoulder and says, "What do you think about that?" We have a perfect example of it in all four examples of it in all four Gospels. All four Gospels will share the story, and they're waiting for a response, waiting for your opinion. What are you going to do about this information? So this one, this year, our passage comes from Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 28, starting with verse 1. If you want to follow along and check my work, you can do that. What page is that? 811. It's 811, or is it 111? 811. Well, I really don't want them to look at my work. 811. Let's give it a shot. Hear God's word if you're able. After the Sabbath, now we're on Sunday, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord, descending from heaven, came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. For fear of him, the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid. It's okay. I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has been raised, as he said. Come, see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has been raised from the dead, and indeed he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him. This is my message for you." So they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy and ran to tell the disciples. Suddenly Jesus himself met them and said, "Greetings." And they said, "What?" And they came to him, took hold of his feet and worshiped him. Then he said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. They'll see me there." And all God's people said, By some terrible mistake, I was asked to be on a scholarship committee The Tribute Garden Scholarship Committee, I think you did that, Len, didn't you? Sorry. Helen, you put me up to that? They wonder why I drink. So I'm on this really, have you heard, who's heard of this? The Tribute Garden Scholarship Fund. I mean, that's a big deal, right? It's a big deal. 2 are awarded every year, 40 Gs each, right? That's serious money where I come from. You could buy like a county where I come from. And so what we do is we get these piles. You're on it for 5 years, Helen. 5 years. It's a prison sentence. So what you get is you get these piles of applications, right? And seniors from Millbrook High School, they apply and they fill out the application. And there's a little essay in there, and you get their grades and their state scores and all that sort of thing. Where they're going to school, where they're going, who's accepted them, all that kind of thing. Thinking back on my own prestigious high school career. Well, anyway, so we go through these things, and then we boil it down to interview. We're going to interview 4 candidates. There are really, really tender-hearted people on the committee, so we interview 9 at an hour pop. Helen, did you hear that? 9? Yeah. So you're going through interviews, and then we have to agree on questions, right? How do you find questions that are good enough to separate out, because you have to, right? You have to separate. That's the only way you're going to find winners, is you have to separate them out. What questions should we ask them? Well, okay, we asked them to write another. We asked them to write another essay. The essay this year was taken from Vanderbilt University, and that is, give us your top 3. That's it. Give us your top 3. Top 3 what? Just give us your top 3. What would they be? Brown trout, rainbow trout, brook trout. Right? That's the obvious answer. And why? Well, we had, and then they hand it in, we read it, and then they come in and we interview them, and then we have a whole series of other questions. And one of the questions this year was, tell us what you think about ethical consumption. This is cold. They come in, their hands are cold and a little bit wet. Ours are too, because we're under pressure. Everybody's under pressure. We sit down for half an hour and chat. First question. What's your opinion on ethical consumption? Anybody? Good night. Are you feeling $40,000 poorer? They did. Every single one of them took it on. Every single one. And some of them had never heard the term. They said, yeah, we'll take it on. I thought maybe the most interesting one, they were all really good, as you can imagine. But the one that really got me and got our crew was ethical consumption. It's the information you take in. How ethical is it? It's the information you consume. It's the information you consume. Is it ethical? And man, that really got me going, because it was just before Holy Week. It's really got me going. I mean, whom do you trust to tell you the truth? I mean, that's a big one, isn't it? Don't you think it's a big one? Whom do you trust to tell you the truth? And I'm not talking about what kind of lip gloss looks good on you. I'm not talking about that. I mean big T truth. Big T. Whom do you trust to tell you the truth? It's huge nowadays, don't you think? It's sort of bottom line, I think. Ethical consumption. The information we consume, is it ethical? Is it good? Is it reliable? Is it truthful? Is it true? Who do you count on? I mean, what newspapers do you read? What do you watch on television? I've heard other people have been asking people, obviously, and some people say the only truth, the only way I get into it is what I'm feeling. Well, that's kind of egocentric, isn't it? That's it? Your own point of view, that's it? That doesn't work for me. Does that work for you? I am the center of all truth. That sounds like what? Not good. So who do you trust? Who do you trust? And I think Easter really puts that into a very fine focus. Jesus doesn't write a word, you know. We don't have one word from Jesus that he wrote. Not one word. Anything that we know about Jesus was written by somebody else. Somebody that was a witness, somebody that overheard him. And these are, for the most part, not all, but for the most part, these are really ordinary people that are following him. These aren't great scholars. These aren't stenographers that are following Jesus around. These aren't memorization experts. You know, that's not who we're dealing with. We're talking about Fruitland Township. Simpletons from Fruitland Township. Jesus does not write one word, not a word. It's these other guys, most of them country bumpkins. We're following him around, listening, watching. And here's the kicker, guys. That's who we're reading from. Either them or their disciples. That's when we read the Bible out of the Gospels, do you trust people? In this case, they want you to give your life to this. Do you trust these people, these men? You trust them? How do you trust? How do you know? How do you trust? How does one trust? They're not asking you to give them $5. They're saying, if you follow this, if you believe this, it'll change your whole life. It's worth giving your whole life for it. How do you know? Let me give you some possibilities. How do you know? What they're saying is true. Big T, true. Big T. Because right now they're talking about someone being raised from the dead. Have you ever seen that happen before? Yeah, I got close ones. Got close ones. But they had other plans. How do you know? Here's a possibility. Someone who does not want the truth. Someone who does not have the truth is perfectly willing to put you on a cross. I'll say it again. Someone who does not have the truth is then perfectly willing to put you on the cross. Someone who has the truth is perfectly willing to put themselves on the cross. That make sense? Who dies? And who is willing to die for the truth? That's a major issue. The person who does not have the truth is very willing to have you on a cross. The person who does have the truth is willing to put themselves on the cross. And are we thinking of Jesus at this point? I'm thinking of Jesus too. And now I just want to allow this. I want to also say that's also true of the disciples. It's also true of the disciples. As far as we know, Peter and Paul, St. Peter and St. Paul were both executed in Rome. Rather than have other people executed, they had a truth that would put them in harm's way. That's a good sign to know that somebody's speaking their truth. Their truth. We're pretty sure that all of the disciples were martyred. Almost, if not all, then almost all of the disciples are martyred. If you have the truth and you're willing to, if you have the truth and you're willing to die for it, that is a really good sign that you've got something that just, right? Is that true? I mean, how about this one? Just for you, just for laughs. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that we believe that they are inalienable rights. Life, liberty, and what? Right. The freedom to shop. What was the last one? I get that one mixed up. And the pursuit of happiness. Are you willing to die for it? Are you willing to die for that truth? I am. I'll die for that one. Anybody else? Willing to die for that one? We can go to a cemetery and find volunteers there. If you have a truth where it puts you in harm's way and saves others, there's a really good sign that that's a capital T. So that's what these guys are talking about. A capital T, capital truth. And what they're asking, what they're saying is really two things. With the resurrection of Jesus Christ, what that means is two things. One is that what he taught, what Jesus taught, is true. If you rise from the dead, what you represent is true. Love your enemy. Enter God's kingdom of grace. It's true. It's reality. It's true. And the second thing is that, and this goes for us, is that if you follow this Christ in your own way, as your own person, if you follow this Christ, it'll transform you, and it'll transform the world around you. And I think what Jesus has in mind is this life isn't the only thing we're going to experience. All God's people stuff. God, we have much to be grateful for, and so we ask that you would accept this token of our thanks in the form of this offering, but we want to give you a little bit more than that. We want to give you more of our lives. We want to give you more of our heart. We want to give you more of our minds. We want to give you more of our will. We want to give you more of our spirits. We just, we know we belong to you. We just ask that you help us find a way so that would be so. For in you there is life and light and love. Your kingdom is magnificent, and we love you for it. In Christ our Lord. go out into the world. My friends and my colleagues, go out into this world. I need your help so much. Need your grace. Be careful what you take in. Ethical consumption. Ethical consumption, something to consider. Something to consider. Just remember, truths are being told all the time. Truths are being told all the time. Just remember, listen to the ones that are going to get you off a cross. Those are the ones to trust. Those that want to save us. Those that want to put us back together. Those that want to redeem us. Those are the words. Those are the words. Those are the truths that we hold dear. Whether they have to do with God or whether they have to do with us as a country. Those are the ones to hang on to. And for those that would wish us on a cross, what we say is no. So be of good cheer. Christ has overcome death. Christ has overcome the world. And with Christ, so shall we. And all God's people said,
Amen. Thank you for all that glorious music. Would you introduce our trumpeter, please?
Yes, this is Jessica Stein. She's played her many times, and I'm sure we'll be back again.
Hope so. There are many, many, many announcements in the bulletin. I will not hit them all, but for those of you who like to come to Lyall for lunch on Thursdays, this week it is minestrone soup. One of my favorites. You might have noticed that there's a big bunch of carnations in the back of the church. We ask that when you leave, you go out through the front door, and we have a living cross that we like to decorate with those flowers. So please take one or two and put them on the cross. Also, since we have many people here, David, we could talk about spring cleanup. Saturday, May 4th, from 8 to noon, we are asking all those able-bodied and willing people to come help join cleaning up around the church, both inside and outside. It's a fun day, if it's not raining. And there's a correction on the back of the announcements about adult Christian study. That did not end last week. It will end this week. So come Monday morning or Wednesday evening and finish the discussion of grace. Any other announcements?
I see we have an abundance of children here today. And following the announcements, we're going to go out the front door with the children. If you could line up in the back with the youngest first and the oldest in the back. And what was that about consumption? There'll be baskets, and out on the lawn you'll find eggs. Now I want you to count the eggs in your basket. If you have 10, you're going to help somebody else to get 10, okay? And then once everybody has 10, you can get as many as you want. But we want to make sure everybody gets at least 10. Also, coffee hour. If anybody's interested in hosting a coffee hour, there's a sign-up sheet under the one hanging there for May and June. So if you'd like to do a coffee hour any Sunday morning, please sign up. Thank you.
Anyone else? Pastor Tom?
Thursdays.
And maybe we'll see you next Sunday, too. All right. Yeah, there's no coffee. Go enjoy your families. Happy Easter.